Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari. Yasodananda Braja Jana Ranjana. Yasodananda Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tirha Vanachari. Yamuna Tirha Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari. Yasodananda Braja Jana Ranjana. Yasodananda Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tirha Vanachari. Yamuna Tirha Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parvidakacharya Asadhara Sadushi Sriman. His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Raj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Haribol, glories to these sound devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Garanga. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paskatyade Siddharne. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Pada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Vrajana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shiva Sakans Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinabando Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishubhanu Sita Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kapa Tribhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So thank you for coming. Is anyone here for the first time? You've heard of a book called the Bhagavad Gita before? Have you heard Bhagavad Gita? Yes. Those who are here for the first time? No. Okay. Anyhow, if you haven't, you'll hear something about it today. So I'm going to read from the Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 15, the Yoga of the Supreme Person, text number 8. Shariram yadavatno ti yatchap yukramati shraha grihi vaitani samyati vayor ganda iva shayat. The living entity in the material world carries his different conceptions of life from one body to another, just like the air carries aroma. And thus he takes one kind of body and again quits it to take another. So Srila Prabhupada's purport. Here the living entity is described as Ishvara, the controller of his own body. If he likes, he can change his body to a higher grade. If he likes, he can move to a lower grade. Minute independence is there. The change his body undergoes depends upon him. At the time of death, the consciousness he has created will carry him on to the next type of body. He has made his consciousness like that of a cat or dog. He is sure to change to a cat's or dog's body. And if he has fixed his consciousness on godly qualities, it will change into the form of a demigod. And if he is in Krishna consciousness, it will be transferred to Krishna Loka, and the spiritual world will associate with Krishna. It is a false claim that after the annihilation of this body, everything is finished. The individual soul is transmigrating from one body to another, and his present body and present activities are the background of his next body. One gets a different body according to karma, and he has to quit this body in due course. It is stated here that the subtle body, which carries the conception of the next body, develops another body in the next life. This process of transmigrating from one body to another and struggling while in the body is called karshati, or a struggle for existence. So the verse again. Shariram yadavapnoti yatschaptu kramati shraha grihi vaitani samyati vayor ganda ivashayat. The living entity in the material world carries his different conceptions of life from one body to another, as the air carries aromas. Thus he takes one kind of body and again quits it to take another. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutaya Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shnivadi Paskatyade Satarne. Thank you all for coming. The philosophy of Krishna consciousness is actually quite simple. The knowledge has two aspects. One is knowledge of the self, and the second is knowledge of the Supreme Self. If one understands knowledge of the self and the Supreme Self, then one has perfect knowledge of everything. Or at least one knows everything that's important to know. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains very simply about the knowledge of the self, the real self. He says, Denosmin yata dehe kamaram yovanam jara tata dahantra praptir diryas tatra namuyati. He says that our bodies are changing. He told Arjuna his body was changing. He wasn't trying to insult Arjuna, but the fact is that Arjuna's body was changing. And not only Arjuna's body was changing, but our bodies change also. And the final change that the body has is called death. People don't usually talk about death in a class, unless you go to a class where the subject matter is death. But actually, this body is already dead. Sorry for the bad news. But the body that we're in is already dead. Only because we're in the body does it appear that the body's alive. But when we leave the body, then we say the body's dead. But the body's always dead. Just like a car is always dead. But when there's a driver in the body, then the car appears to be alive because it moves. But when the driver leaves the car, then the car can't move anymore. But no one says, oh, the car has died. And when the car can't move anymore, then they don't put the car in a hole, bury it, and cry, oh, my car is dead. Such a nice car. So similarly, the relationship between our body and this particular, and the soul, ourselves, and the relationship between a driver and a car are exactly the same. Only due to the fact that the soul is in the body does it appear to be alive. And when the soul leaves the body, then we say it's dead. And our identification with the body is exactly like saying, I am the car. So in Sanskrit, they use the word aham kar for identification with the body, or I am the car. So that's the first part of knowledge, that we've had so many bodies, and we'll get more bodies as long as we stay in this body, but we ourselves are not changing. That's why we can remember having so many bodies. Unless we could remember having so many bodies, unless there was someone remembering all these different bodies, then how can we say that, well, I should say, because there is someone who can remember having so many different bodies, that means that someone is permanent, and the bodies that they remember are only temporary. Now, how did we all get here in these temporary bodies? That's the next question. Now, I don't think any of us remember creating our particular body that we're in. That somehow or another, all these souls, we could say spiritual souls, living entities, because we're alive and we have consciousness, although what we're aware of now is only through this body, practically speaking, either gross or subtle. Either we see through our eyes, we hear with our ears, we smell with our nose, we taste with our tongue, we think with our minds, we reason with our intelligence. So these are our present experience through this gross and subtle material bodies. Now, who made this gross body? Who made this subtle body? Sometimes children are told the stork brought the body. But we know that's not true. Or we can say our father and mother made the body. But where did they get their body from? So then we say our grandparents made their body. But where did our grandparents get their body from? So our conclusion is that if we trace our bodies back, our ancestry back, we'll find that there's an original person, and that person is called God or Krishna, whoever you want, whatever name, Jehovah, Yahweh. That the original person, the original source of everything is a person. It's not a monkey. Now there's some propaganda that we've all come from the monkeys. But according to our spiritual master, that we didn't come from the monkeys. Maybe Darwin came from a monkey, but the rest of us came from human beings. And all living entities ultimately come from a supreme person. In other words, whatever qualities we have, the original person or the original source must have those qualities too. For instance, we're all persons. Sometimes we treat each other impersonally. I remember one time I was on, this is like 45 years ago, first time I was in India, a little bit of a cultural shock for me at that time. I was on a train by myself in Bombay, going from one place to another, and it was quite crowded. Although I grew up in New York, this was even more crowded than New York, the train. It kind of reminded me in Japan. In Japan, when you're about to get to a subway stop or a train stop, people from the back, they push the other people out of the train. Otherwise, they can't get out of the train. So from the back, they start pushing. So this was quite crowded also in Bombay. And after many stops, I finally got a seat. And then in the next stop, someone sat down on me. They thought I was a seat. Now, of course, as I said, we're not the body, and the body is actually dead. But you generally expect that because we're a combination right now, there's a soul in the body, that people treat you somewhat like a soul rather than a chair. So everyone wants to be treated personally. Even the impersonalists want to be treated personally. No one wants to be treated as a chair or something like that. So, but the point is that as we're persons, then the original source from where we came from also must be a person. Just like because we've come from something, that something was parents who happened to be people. And they came from parents also who were persons. So where do we trace back in our history, our ancestry, that something was impersonal? As I've said before, that two rocks, they met each other, they fell in love, and they produced a mouse. That's not within our it's not reasonable to assume that we can assume that whatever qualities something has, then the original source of those qualities must also have those qualities. For instance, if there's light in this room and we're given three objects to decide where the light came from, one is a cardboard box, the other is a screwdriver, and the third is a lamp. Which do you choose? Yes, you choose the lamp. You don't say, well, maybe it came from the screwdriver. Because the screwdriver has no light, it has no heat, it has no illumination. That is a cardboard box. Because there's something that has heat and light, and therefore if we're experiencing heat and light, we know that the source of that heat and light must also have heat and light. So if we're persons, we have qualities, then the original source of our qualities and personality must also be a personality with qualities. The difference is that when little sparks come out of a fire, we understand that the fire has heat and light like the little sparks, but this fire is much bigger. So the Vedic literature, Bhagavad Gita, tells us that the original source of everything is a person, but he's the biggest person. He's the person with infinite beauty, infinite knowledge, infinite wealth, infinite strength, infinite renunciation, and infinite fame. All the qualities that we have, but to a much greater degree. As a matter of fact, an infinite degree, which is not within our present realm of experience, but we can understand that it's something much greater. Now the question is, if God is so big, so infinite, and we're so small, and now we've been put into these bodies, then why have we been put into these bodies? God is so powerful, so great, then why did he be so cruel to put us into a temporary body where we're experiencing sometimes pleasure, sometimes distress, and generally a combination of both happiness and distress? Did we ask to be put into the body? Well, perhaps no. But the fact is we are put into the body not unjustly. Krishna didn't put us into these bodies because he didn't like the way we looked. He said, I don't like your face, I think I'll give you a material body. No, we're put into material bodies because that's what we wanted and how can we say that's what we wanted? Because we did certain things, because we wanted to do certain things, therefore we got a certain result. Just like one goes into a store and he decides he wants the, whatever it may be, the computer, or I guess more appropriate, he wanted an iPhone 10. Unfortunately, he didn't want to pay for it, but he wanted it. So he thought, well, I don't want to pay for it. There doesn't seem to be anyone looking around right now, so I think I'll steal it. So he puts it in his pocket, and he thinks, oh, this is a pretty good deal. And he walks out of the store, but before he gets out of the store, he's arrested. And he said, why are you arresting me? I just wanted the iPhone 10, and there was no one else in the store, so I figured no one could possibly own it because there's no one in the store. So I just picked it up because no one else was claiming it. But still, the police arrest us. Whatever our perception or our conclusion may be about who's the proprietor of this iPhone, still, ultimately, there's a police force, and we learn the hard way that we're not legally the owner of the iPhone. We had to pay for it. In a similar way, although we may not recognize God in any way, or Krishna, or whoever you want to call him, we may not agree that he's existing. We may deny his existence. And therefore we may think, well, everything I see around us is potentially mine. If I can just get all these other living entities, these other people, to agree to it also so they don't take it from me. Because potentially everyone in the material world is trying to get everyone else's property. Some people do it legally, or quote legally, and some people do it by illegally. Legally means I steal from you, but I do it in such a way as you're actually thinking you're getting a good deal. I give you a piece of paper, you work hard, I give you a piece of paper, and you actually think you've gotten something from it. I just print up a piece of paper, you work hard, I print up the paper and hand it out to you, and I get the results of all your work, and you think you've gotten a good deal. So that's called intelligence, or trickery, whatever you want to call it. So the material world is more or less, everyone is looking at this property, this energy around us, and figuring out how to steal it. Just like a group of thieves, they rob a bank, and they all go to their hideout, and the head thief stands up and says, my dear fellow thieves, thank you very much. You did a great job stealing all this money. But now, I only have one request from all you noble thieves. Please, please, I beg of you, let us divide the money up honestly. So they're all thieves, they've stolen the money, and now they're making an arrangement for an honest division of the stolen goods. So in a similar way, all this energy belongs to God. None of us put it here. None of us have any control over it. And yet we're imagining that we're going to decide that this belongs to me, and I'm free to do with it any way I want. And therefore, we've been arrested by the illusory energy. Why the illusory energy? Because actually we're not these bodies, we're all spiritual beings. But we're in illusion, misidentifying ourselves with these gross and subtle bodies. So that was not a bargain. It's not that we're very fortunate to get material bodies. Of course, we're fortunate to get a human form of life where we can realize how unfortunate we are to be in the material world, being imprisoned by gross and subtle material bodies, and having to experience the problems of material existence. Problems of material existence are, in spite of whatever desire we may have, whatever our efforts may be, the body doesn't stop changing, and it doesn't grow younger. If anyone has noticed, their bodies grow older. No one is desiring, purposely working hard so that their bodies grow older. But they grow older, they become diseased. And how do we know that the body's diseased? Well, we can just look around and see how everyone's trying to sit on the floor or on a chair, how we're leaning this way or leaning that way, how we're out of ease. Our knees hurt us, our back hurts us, our stomach hurts us, or after listening to this lecture, your head hurts you. Something hurts. That's called disease. And then there is death. No one is looking forward to death. We sing happy birthday, but no one sings happy death day. Although, in order to get a birthday, we need a death day also. And our birthdays are not as glorious as we may think they are. When we enter into the world, we didn't enter with a party hat on. We didn't cut our first birthday cake or our birth cake. We were entered crying and screaming, and we go out practically crying and screaming too. So there are so many problems being in the material body. It's given to us not as a reward for our good deeds, it's given as a reward for our trying to steal from God. Now, of course, people deny the existence of God, but they can't deny the fact that they're put into a material body and they have to suffer different consequences of material existence. So someone is doing it. There's no scientist, actual scientist, who's ever created a human form of life, any kind of body. They can't even create one blade of grass. And even if they could create one blade of grass after spending trillions of dollars, what's the benefit? There's already trillions of blades of grass. God has already created so many flowers, so many planets, so many living entities, and yet he's given no credit. But if some scientists, after spending trillions of dollars, they create one blade of grass, they give them the Nobel Prize. But I can give them piles of grass, and they won't even give me a dime for it. So the point is, we're misled by modern so-called education into believing that the purpose of life is simply to struggle in existence, trying to survive, and trying to squeeze whatever happiness we can out of this existence, and then afterwards, no one really knows what's going on. It's all just kind of like a mystery, and after you leave your body, that's when you'll find out what it's all about. But actually in Bhagavad Gita, the entire knowledge of reality is given to us. It's just a question of using our intelligence, not blindly following the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita, but actually using our intelligence to understand things as clearly as possible. And it's actually, as I said, not so difficult to perceive our changing body and the fact that we're not changing. Now, of course, because we've decided, or at least we're accustomed to try to hanker for the material objects that we see attractive to us, and because we tend to lament over the fact that we can't enjoy them the way we'd like to, because of that hankering and lamentation, our minds or our intelligence are generally not so steady to understand things clearly. But if we hear Bhagavad Gita, then at least theoretically we can understand that there's something beyond our present existence, that we're beyond our present existence, and that what I'm actually hankering for, what I really want, is some peace and security. But it's not going to be found by simply trying to work hard day and night for my own gross or subtle body or anyone else's, because that's not possible. On the other hand, to work for my real self, that we don't really know. What kind of job can we get for our real self, for the soul within the body? Therefore, in this age, when everything is so complicated and it's very hard to understand what the purpose of life is, therefore, an incarnation of Krishna named Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come, and he's introduced the chanting of Hare Krishna. So we're chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And according to our philosophy, there is no difference between the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his energy, his divine energy, Srimati Radharani, and the Hare Krishna mantra. And the Hare Krishna mantra is a call to the Supreme Lord's divine energy, spiritual energy, and to himself to engage us in his loving service. In other words, to take this very same energy that we're not presently desiring to utilize to struggle in the material world for our survival and to try to get some kind of arrangement for our material happiness, to take that same energy and utilize it in such a way as it's in harmony with the plan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, the chanting Hare Krishna is a call or a prayer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead to change the quality of our activities from material to spiritual. It may not mean to change our activities, but to change our consciousness from being this body and a potential controller of the material nature and arranger of the material energy to get the most happiness and security we can by utilizing this body, to utilizing this body in order to fulfill the purpose of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it just so happens that the purpose of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is to help the souls get out of their illusory consciousness, not only ourselves, but everyone else, to help them get out of their illusory consciousness so they can realize their eternality, the fact that they're eternal, and to actually understand things properly, that not only we're eternal, but every living entity is eternal, and that our natural position is that of happiness and bliss that's experienced by when we're in contact with the source of all happiness and bliss and illumination, namely the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Krishna is very kind. He comes, he speaks Bhagavad Gita. He comes as the form of the deities. He comes as the form of the Hare Krishna mantra, just to give us an opportunity to utilize this body, mind, and words in a spiritual way, rather than a struggle for material existence, which puts us into illusion, governed by Krishna's illusory energy called Maya, who arrests us and puts us into illusory consciousness because we're trying to deny the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and utilize his energies for some other means than his purpose. But it just so happens that his purpose is the most beneficial and beneficent purpose. That is to free all the living entities from their imprisonment of material consciousness and to elevate them to the platform of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. That's Krishna's only purpose. Unfortunately, because those who are not in harmony with Krishna's purpose, they have to settle for something less than eternity, knowledge, and bliss. And that means that they have to accept a temporary life full of misery and ignorance, not knowing what's to be done, what's not to to be done. Ignorance means instead of working for our eternality, our eternal blissful relationship with the Supreme Person, we wind up working hard for a temporary material body which inflicts all kinds of miseries upon us. In any case, the chanting of Hare Krishna is available for everyone. Our founder, Acharya, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, never charged any money for distributing the Hare Krishna mantra. It's free. Everyone can experience what it's like to associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead as much as we want to by chanting this Hare Krishna mantra. And at the same time, if we learn the philosophy of Krishna consciousness and employ it within our lives, then gradually we'll become qualified to get out of the imprisonment of material existence, and therefore we'll be able to perceive even more consistently and more intensely the happiness and the enlightenment that comes from chanting Hare Krishna. So that's our decision. Everyone has that right to choose, especially in the human form of life, what kind of existence they want. Unfortunately, those who don't choose to accept the reality of their eternality and the reality of the Supreme Person and work only to gratify or to satisfy the ever incessant demands of this gross and subtle body, they may achieve so many things in this material world. There are so many rich people, there are so many famous people, there are so many materially educated people, there are so many influential people. Unfortunately, that by their endeavors to imitate the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by their not following the instructions of Krishna, their next lifetime may not be as they may desire it. There are so many sincere living entities working hard to achieve something in this material world, trying to do the best for themselves and their family, their society, their country, but because they don't know what the purpose of life is, therefore they may be misdirecting themselves and others, and the result may not be very auspicious. So here it says that not only we ourselves are spiritual beings, but even the animals, they're also spiritual beings within material bodies. Even the insects are spiritual beings within material bodies. That every living entity is a combination of a soul within a material body. So how did those animals get an animal body? How did the insects get an insect body? Why? How? Because in their previous lifetimes, they didn't act in harmony with the Supreme Personality of Godhead's laws, and therefore they got an appropriate body according to their activities. As it says, as you sow, so shall you reap. So we act like a dog, then we'll become a dog. If we act like a cat, we'll become a cat. If we act like a demigod, we'll become a demigod. If we act like a human being, we'll become a human being. And if we act like a spiritual being, then we'll get our spiritual body will revive itself, and we can exist simply in our original spiritual existence. So that's up to us who choose. Those who have no knowledge, they already made the choice. This knowledge is made available through these books, through lectures, so many different ways. Those who are fortunate and who choose to accept it, then they can change their lives in such a way as to have a more auspicious future. As a boy has a future, that he'll become a young man. As a young man has a future, that he's going to become an old man. That as the old man has a future, he's going to die. The body's going to die. So that's not the end. The soul will have another future. But that future may not be in the human form of life. It may be in some other species of life. And what is the difference? That only in the human form of life we have the opportunity to engage ourselves in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Otherwise, the animals, they're forced simply to eat, sleep, mate, and defend without any opportunity generally to engage in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's up to us to choose. We can go on with our, quote, normal, acceptable activities that many people appreciate. Our parents may praise us. Our school teachers may praise us. We may we may win popularity contests or elections. We may be offered all kinds of prizes and get financial benefit. But if at the end we become a mouse, then what was actually the benefit of all that encouragement? So that we have to choose what direction we want to go in. There are many mice. There's a sufficient number of mice. We don't have to join them. There's no need to increase the number of mice species or any of the other species of life. But there is a necessity for people to become enlightened and to spread this Krishna consciousness. So we hope that you take advantage of these books. We didn't write these books. None of us wrote these books. They're written by, Bhagavad Gita means it was written by the Supreme Personality of God. It was spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead 5,000 years ago. I mentioned that God has all beauty, has all knowledge, He has all fame, He has all strength, He has all renunciation, He has all wealth. The proof of that cannot be delivered at this present moment to everyone here by showing Krishna's beauty or revealing Krishna's fame or His strength. But Krishna's knowledge is there in the Bhagavad Gita. So anyone can read the Bhagavad Gita, study it, and see if it actually makes not only sense, but absolute sense. If the principles in Bhagavad Gita are just as true now as they were 5,000 years ago. So that's why Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita. That's why our spiritual teacher translated these books from the Sanskrit, and they were translated into many different languages and are being distributed to give the human beings on this planet the opportunity to make their lives successful. Successful means to get out of the ignorance of this material conception of life, to realize our relation with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, act accordingly, and to have the personal experience of associating with the source of all happiness and enlightenment, namely Krishna and His divine energies, His divine devotees. So, thank you very much. Any questions? So these books are available here. That's why we have all these books out there. Our business is not really as book salesmen. Our business is to give people transcendental knowledge, the opportunity to make their lives successful. So we encourage you to take home some of these books. If you have them already, take some more home and distribute them to your friends and also to your enemies so they can become your friends eventually. So thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai.